Welcome back to what's it called again?
Rum and Reasoning.
Rum and Reasoning. I don't do that many podcasts. Big up Rum and Reasoning. We are here. It's nice to be back. This is something I actually really
We have to
look
talk
forward
about
to.
this, Bucko. You're doing too many podcasts as well, you know.
I'm not doing too, bro.
Devaluing the brand, man.
Behave
We have to
yourself,
talk
man. I
about that.
do my thing on the education thing,
Yeah.
and I do this here. But this is therapy. I'm not gonna lie.
What's the name of the
SLT podcast. So
Okay.
if you're from the educational perspective, check that out. But we're here on a Rum and Reasoning.
Yeah. Rum and Reasoning.
So the first thing we do, obviously, we're called Rum and Reasoning. It's gonna be mad, but did I speak about this last time?
What, Coromantic?
Yeah, we had one,
We've done a review of Coromantic.
but
Have we done a review?
we did a review.
I think we have, yeah.
But the gentleman who owns it, yeah, he's such a
some
nice.
coasters.
He gave us some coasters. He gave me a flask. So we're gonna have this in shot to make sure you can see it. But the rum we're gonna be reviewing today, we've already started on it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you already started cussing me out beforehand. Oh, another Jamaican rum, another Jamaican rum.
Yeah, because, look, listen, we know that Jamaica has wonderful rum houses, just like Barbados and whatever. But, you know, we need to... Anyway, you know, I don't even want to devac because this is such a great rum. Let me not steal your thunder.
No, okay, all right. I'll hold my hands up, yeah?
Yeah.
I do need to be a bit more varied.
All right.
I need to be a bit more varied. I will apologise from now. But I love Appleton rum. Maybe it's because of what I know. I'm trying to... This is like their entry level.
Is it?
Yeah, man. The signature blend is their entry level. So this is kind of what they'll use for cocktails, so on and so. But even as an entry level rum, at about between £20 and £25, yeah, this is beautiful.
£20 or £25 out there. It's not going to be that out there. It's going to be much more, I would imagine.
What do you mean?
Can you get that here for £25?
Yeah, man. £20, £25, you can get this.
I've got to be honest, that's a nice rum.
Yeah, man. You can get this for £20, £25. I'm talking in your local shops and so on and so forth. So this is the one up from, I think they call it Kingston 62 when they rebranded, and then this is the one up. So this is
delicious.
Appleton signature blend.
Yeah.
A beautiful rum, especially if you're into cocktail making. The body
Is strong, but it's not too strong. Right?
Yeah.
So it's something that's perfect for. But I've got chased with some fruit juice. I typically chase all my rums with fruit juice.
Really?
Yeah. You know what it is? Since I went to last time I went to Barbados, I went to the rum distillery.
Yeah.
So as part of that process, there was like almost a little education piece on how rum's made and, you know, how to kind of pick up the notes and blah blah blah. And what I realized, bro, is like Coke and them kind of things you just kill the rum.
Yes.
If it's good rum.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something like Captain Morgan and you're out for a night and that's all they've got. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, Havana or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or even a Bacardi. Those are like, just like...
Well, we're not rating the Cuban rums, but go.
Not really. Really. I'm not a big fan. For me, those kind of rums...
Yeah, commercial. Yeah, every day. Yeah.
That you could kill with a Coke or a Red Bull or whatever it is, in my opinion. But drink your rum how you want to drink it.
Yeah.
But for me, I really enjoy it with fruit juices.
Okay. All right.
It almost gives it like a little rum punch flavour kind of thing.
I hear you. I do hear
On a
you.
beach or somewhere warm.
Yeah, not in London. Not in London.
In the clouds and rain.
Oh my goodness. All right,
Anyway,
bro.
lovely.
What did we say out of 5?
I'm going to give this a really, really high ranking. I'm going to give this one a 4. I want to say 4.5, but let's just call it 4. And the reason for that is it's horses to courses, right? And for what this is, which is like a really
Agreed. Accessible.
accessible. It's not going to brock your pocket. Like you said, you can have it with cocktails, or you can just have that underneath. Open a bottle, you're not. Here's your collection kind of thing.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
I agree. I'm gonna, for the exact same reasons, 4.5 is a nice rum to have in your collection. It's a very nice drinkable rum. It's also, I also like the bottle. Bottle's got a bit of class about it.
I
So
want to twist that bottle a bit.
I think it's in shot. Yeah. Wherever it's in shot, you can see it. Yeah, Appleton Estate signature blend. Okay.
Yes, done with the rum. Into the reasoning.
Yes. What's the topic for today, Chris? Talk to me.
So the angle today, just based on some of the other conversations that we've had recently, I thought it'd be really interesting. Being that my son is 17, going on 25, and I think your son's a couple of years older, right?
No, he's only. Remember, they're only a year apart. You know.
Oh,
so,
is it?
They're only a year apart.
So he's 18 going on 19.
He will be 18. He'll be 18 in a few months. So
he's actually still 17.
Yeah, man.
Oh shit!
So
I didn't realise.
He's a summer baby.
Yeah, but he's the year above.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've noticed they're all kind of getting into, the finer species, so we say, the women, the ladies.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I thought it would be a really interesting conversation to get archived, to just be out there for ourselves, for our sons, for our peers and other people out there who've got sons as well, just to talk about the whole kind of young boys and dating.
And for other young men as well, because you've got to appreciate there are a lot of young men who may not be privy to what fathers, the conversation fathers would have with their sons.
A little bit of grown man game. Yeah. They're figuring it out from their boys and from media and whatever it is they're getting, as opposed to getting a little bit of tailored. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is for, right?
Yes.
Giving tailored information that some might not be privy to just because of whatever the dynamic is. But so basically, what I'd like to discuss is dating advice for young men. Obviously coming from, kind of anecdotal experience of ourselves and our views and perceptions. It's just solely that. Let me put the disclaimer. Our views are solely our views. Do you know what I mean? We're not trying to say our way is perfect, or I'm not trying to say my way is perfect, or what have you. But I think this will apply to not only kids, like our kids group, but straight through into kind of early 20s.
Yeah, I'd say from teens to kind of 25, almost up to maybe your late 30s. Early 30s. So I would say adolescence up to your late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hitting all notes. Yeah. Hitting all notes.
So, I mean, to get into it, from my perspective, I think that there's quite a few different concepts that you need to really think about with dating. It's things that we've talked about before. You really want to be dating with some kind of intention, right? As a man, I think. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is you don't just want to be out here sowing your royal oats and running the baby father flex. That's not what it's about. Ultimately,
I think you need to repeat that and reiterate that, because I think not often enough is that said.
Yeah, well, this is a point. I'm going to say it again because I know that it's going to end up getting chopped up and it's going to go out on socials or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make here, again, loud and clear, dating for young men is something that needs to have some kind of logic behind it. You should be working with your big brain and not just your little brain. You're a little bit more privileged than young ladies in some senses, from my perspective, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is you need to understand that there's consequences of the mistakes that you made that can be far-reaching, and you also need to understand, first and foremost, that you need to know what you want to get out of it. We don't want to just go out and just have like 2 years of terror, just creating 5 and 6 broken homes, and you just add into this whole kind of baby father, baby mother kind of drama, and that's killing our community. From my perspective, anyway, that's my view. Yeah, I'm not someone who is someone who sanctions or authorizes and says, yeah, baby fathers, that's the way forward for us. No, it's not. It's very toxic for us.
Yeah, we're not coming on this podcast talking about how many baby mothers we've got and how many kids we've got. I'll say it straight, man ain't advocating for that, because on the other half we see the effect it has, and it's about.
Well, you do, because you're in the schools and that. I see this as the wider community, but like it's ridiculous.
And what ultimately we're speaking about is responsibility. And as a young man, even if I put my education hat on, when people speak about exams, why are exams so important? Why are exams? Do we even have to take? All exams show is you're able to take responsibility for yourself, and have some discipline in regards to self-study. You can self-study, you can build up, you can apply your knowledge, and there is a result. But in order to get the grade, there is a level of responsibility to that.
Right.
Same in regards to, and it's interesting that you've said both of our sons have got to the stage where they are dating. Yeah. There is an interest in girls. And I'll tell you why it's interesting, because I remember being interested in girls a lot earlier than my son was. And I'm looking at you because I know your history, bro.
No comment.
You don't have to comment. All right, I'll talk. Yeah,
Don't talk for me, bro.
I can. No, see, this is the interesting thing about Rum and Reasoning. I can actually talk because we used to sit next together in class. In year 7 and year 8.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I noticed a lot more. Finding with young men, they are being a bit more responsible. They're not being as.
I think young boys right now. Sorry to cut your point.
Yeah.
But just to interject briefly, I think that a lot of boys now are a bit younger. They come across as a bit more younger minded. I think when I was in school as a 15, 16...
a big man.
Yeah, but at 15, 16, I was acting up and I wanted to be a big man. Whereas I don't know if this is a standard thing, but with my kids, they seem very younger acting. As happy being... 15, 16, 17. Whereas at 15, 16, 17, I was trying to have the perception out there that I'm some 20-year-old, I'm some 21-year-old or whatever it is. Obviously, it doesn't work.
This guy's perception.
No, but I'm just saying to you, that's how I was flex. I wanted to be like what the bigger guys were. I wanted to be dealing what they were dealing with. I wanted to be dealing with gal and nightclubs and, you know what I mean, and certain things. You get what I'm saying to you? That kids ain't really dealing, and they're not really supposed to be dealing with, to be fair.
They're not, and to some extent, kids are more so, and I'm seeing it with our kids, are allowed to be kids. But sticking with
let's stick with
the idea of responsibility.
Yeah.
I love the fact, and I'm going to say this specifically to my son, that, and he won't believe it, he's a lot more responsible, especially in regards to the discipline.
And you are. Didn't you have about 4 kids by then? No, I'm joking.
More so, it wasn't even, it was like, it was, girls consumed a lot of my time and attention at 16, 17, be it on the phone, be it trying to go and check this girl in this area, this girl in that area.
Yeah.
It consumed a lot of my time. Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
I think it was, again, trying to keep up with you, obviously, because you were the
impossible job.
Lothario.
At that age, impossible job.
And the thing is, let me tell you this as well.
No, go on.
Don't listen, because the man them will talk, but you'll find out that most of it's lies. Most of it's lies.
It's fine.
So it's trying to kind of keep up with what you're hearing and what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was seen as the kind of done thing to have girls, to be talking to girls and so on and so forth. So it consumed a lot of my time and energy. Whereas I'm seeing with my son, he's much more structured, and I'm seeing with a lot of young men, they're much more structured.
Just a quick question, I don't want to digress too much, but do you think that's because we are more active and present as parents? Because I know personally, when I was growing up, although I have a tremendous just like support base of my parents, still do to this day. They weren't really about. They were just working. So I was like a latchkey kid trying to.
My dad was not having conversations with me about girl that I'm having with my son about girls.
But even outside of the whole girls conversation, do you think that you were given too much room and too much space? Do you think that you offer less space, that you feel more space as a parent than maybe your parents?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the case with both of us.
Yeah, I think as we millennial parents compared to like boomer or ex parents, 100%, very, very different parents.
Yeah,
very different.
And they weren't really. I don't really feel like. I feel like their presence was around because their presence commanded respect. Like for people our age, you know what I mean. The parents were around. Like, you know what I mean. You dare not do some of the things that to our parents that our kids get away to doing to us. But one distinctive difference that I think is that we were a lot more present, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I said. There are conversations, there are talks, there are things that are happening that definitely were happening for kind of our generation. But one of the conversations that I have with my son, and I'm very candid, and I'm saying you need to make
the juice. Go on.
Yeah, you need to make a decision quite early on about, similar to what you're saying, what is your intention?
Yeah.
You need to be intentional from now as a young man.
Yeah.
And people say, no, you need to be thinking about your path from now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of 2 routes I see. Do you want to be, I term it the lone wolf, the eternal bachelor, or are you going to be...
the player, basically, yeah? Like the player kind of archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eternal...
We use this easy terms.
Yeah.
So that player kind of archetype, kind of like, you know what I mean? Free to mingle, enjoying life, experiencing.
Never really ties
no
himself
commitment.
down.
No heavy commitment.
Yes. Yeah. Or are you gonna be a family man?
Steady Eddie. You're gonna go for the steady Eddie. Are you looking from early to find someone that you could just kind of run into a rhythm with and hunt together?
Yes, and hunt together. Yeah,
as opposed to being the lone wolf, the lone ranger kind of aspect.
Because the lone wolf seems, and to some extent, kind of is, because you don't have the commitment, you don't have the responsibility, and also you have the opportunity. A lot of those guys focus a lot on career.
Yeah.
So they're very career driven. So they're high earners early on. So they will be head down into their careers. The idea of kind of city guys, city boys come to mind. So those are the young men who get into the city very early, from the early 20s. So by the time they're like...
There's so many professions though. Tech, AI...
even
social media,
even trades, even like guys who they've got a firm by the time they're in their late 20s. And when I say firm, you've got a crew of workers.
So you may be working for you. You're not on the tools no more.
And you can bring in off of that 10 grand, 12 grand a week. Got contracts in your early 20s.
Way more than that, bro. Constructions. That's a vibe. If you can get it, it's a bag as well. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
So those are the guys. So those are the guys who've really focused on their career, who have almost women are minimalized, families minimalized, and they are just on the bag, and they are able to secure the bag in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're able to live that life.
So yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons, right? There's pros and cons for the player versus the kind of like, should we call him steady Eddie? It sounds a little bit of a derogatory term, man, to be honest with you.
Shall I tell you, I'll give you an example.
Let's say the family guy. The family guy.
Even the family guy. So if we're going to give examples, it would be like, over here you've got your Leonardo DiCaprio's, your Jack Nicholson's, those Hollywood kind of figures would be examples.
Who are their black counterparts? So like a steady Eddie would be like a Will Smith.
No,
someone who's always...
Let's not use Will Smith. Let's use Ice Cube. Ice Cube, like LeBron James,
like a LeBron James, Ice Cube, a Will Smith. People who have always been. I know there's some things, but they are all people who always been attached. Yeah. As opposed to
I'm trying to think now.
A Chris Brown. He's always got maybe not the best example, right?
Yeah, we were struggling.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Like an eternal bachelor kind of guy.
Yeah, give me one more example for guys. Black guys.
I'm struggling.
I'm not really...
We at some point we'll come up with the archetype. I like the... Oh, should I tell you who... Oh, God, I was gonna say it. Like,
who?
Diddy, innit?
You fell into that.
Yeah!
Stop it, man. Stop it.
But he would be an archetype. He's never really...
let's throw the good and the bad in there. Yeah,
because he's never really committed. He had like 2 or 3 different baby mothers. He's a party boy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a good example.
Yeah, I'll look for someone a little bit more wholesome.
Jamie Foxx is a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Single, never really committed, never had that long-term commitment.
But still a stable, solid guy. I'm just trying to put positive examples as opposed to people who've got court cases.
Let's go.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's go Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And
Kevin
LeBron
Hart.
James.
Yeah. Because Kevin Hart's a stable brother. He's married, right?
Yeah. Let's go. Jamie Foxx.
Those are the examples, anyway.
And LeBron James. Yeah.
So those are the examples. I mean, I think that there are... I don't think this is necessarily relevant for the 17 and 18-year-olds, right? I mean, to add context to this, I always go back to the kind of theory that, or the kind of concept that women are a little bit more precious, and need to be guarded a bit more.
Yes,
all right?
said this.
Because obviously, it's a situation where, unlike our boys, a mistake for a young lady in terms of relationships and maybe a early pregnancy or whatever it is something that it's a lot harder to navigate with, whereas a young man oftentimes can kind of shake it off a little bit more, because depending on how your disposition is, you know, you may not necessarily literally be holding the baby, whereas the young lady is, right? So it can have a much more, you know, making mistakes in early dating I think can have a much more devastating impact on young ladies when, you know, the negative experiences kind of come through in terms of a relationship breaking down that seemed like it was, you know, promised or whatever it is, and blah blah blah. So I kind of say women need to be a lot more laser like and a lot more focused or attention. Where for me personally, I do promote to young men, not too young men, because you know, obviously there's a kind of like entry point to this. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not telling every young man to go and experience the world, but I think the young men do need to get out there and experience things. They need to, because it's different for us, right? We are the pursuers or the chasers as opposed to the pursued or the chased, right? So you need to go out there and you need to sharpen your axe. You need to learn how to speak to the other sex. You need to learn how to speak to females. You need to learn the signs of, you know, kind of necessarily for you what is good and what isn't good. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think initially you want to come out the gate and you want to be dating and you want to be, you know, kind of like learning the game, so to speak. But for the older guys, I want to say kind of like when you hit maybe 22 and up, that's when we're really talking about making core decisions about are you going for this player lifestyle or are you going to go for the stable? And I think there's arguments for both. To preference this, I myself chose the more stable route. I got married very young. I settled down, I had children, I built a family, and I found that good for me because in retrospect what I was able to do is kind of lock in as an entrepreneur on building business and that kind of stuff, as opposed to having a distraction of
Can I say something?
Multiple relationships breaking down, breaking up, and there's someone new and this and that. I've never been through that, so I can't really speak to that.
But isn't that a lot of that because the type of woman or your wife, you were very clear on what your goals were, and she bought into that, I'm assuming. Yeah.
So I think the prerequisite.
So bringing it back to young men as well.
Yeah.
When you are gonna go out and find the woman who you're gonna lock in with at 22, 23, she has to buy into whatever it is you're selling, and if you're not clear on what you're selling,
there's no point.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So look, okay, let me put this question to you then, because we've spoken about the lone wolf.
Yeah.
We've spoken about how it can be advantageous to lock in on your career and kind of push that aside where you can earn great amounts of money.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna decide that, okay, I'm a young man, I'd actually, and they don't really tell young men this anymore because it's like nobody wants to get married. That's rubbish.
Yeah.
Listen, marriage is probably the best course. What advice would you say you need to look for in your opposite or the other woman, a woman, in order to know she's the right one to lock in from early? Because for a lot of young men, it's scary. Well, a lot of men, I shouldn't even say young men, a lot of men, they're petrified.
Well, I think the first thing, again, is kind of knowing who you are. It's before you really can select if someone else is right for you, you really have to have a good understanding of who you are and what you're on. So what I mean by that is, I think before you even think about getting into a committed relationship, ideally, right? Because it doesn't always work out in an ideal framework. But the ideal framework would be for you to have an understanding of what it is that you want to do.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Do I want to, kind of settle down in a career? Am I looking to be an entrepreneurial person? Am I looking to, do a lot of outreach work? Whatever it is that you're going to do, how is this going to, just in a snapshot over the next couple of years, what's my life going to look like? Because that then gives you an understanding to say, all right, well, this is what my life looks like for me in theory.
Yeah.
This is where I want to go, even if there are kind of like ups and downs and squiggles and roundabouts or whatever. So then you can portray that to someone and be like, well, this is my plan. But you can't really give a plan to someone if you don't really know what your plan is or who you are or what your interests are or whatever.
I think that is such a good point. I think that is, you
got
have to have, you have to have a rough idea of the direction that you want to go in. Mm-hmm. And then don't try and fit a square peg into a round hole. Mm-hmm. Find somebody who buys into that.
Yeah.
And is willing to kind of support that journey.
And you also into their journey.
Yeah.
Because you know, it may be that, you know, your partner's got a vision for themselves. Maybe they want to be in investment banking. Maybe they want to be in medicine. So it means there's going to be a long period of study.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All of these things have to be taken into account. Is a relationship going to work?
Yeah.
In that sense. And if you're looking to do the stable guy, the settling down thing, at whatever point that is for you, then that's something that I say you kind of have to talk about the vision and the plan first. And you have to identify and have a little bit of research into the other party, you know, whether that means going around their house and just, you know, kind of seeing what's happening. Do you know what I mean? Is there a history of mental illness in the family or various is there a lot of anger? Do you know what I mean? In your partner's house. So this goes for girls and for guys. You know what I mean? I need to see what's going on because I don't want to get into a relationship only to find out that you're coming from a really angry environment. Because I didn't do my due diligence.
Do you think it's important that as a parent, you have some connection with their parents? So you, and this can lead to another question. So let's say your boy brings a girl in and they're doing a little, you can see it's getting serious, yeah? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's important that you're introduced to their parents, you know who their parents are of this girl or not?
I think so, because I'm old school. So I'd want to do my own due diligence and I'd want to be able to say I give my blessing to the union. Yeah. And if I went over and I saw the wrong things, irregardless of how head over heels my child was, be it my son or be it my daughter, they won't get the blessing. It's as simple as that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna just blindly sanction a relationship into a situation where that looks toxic from the off. You know what I mean? You go around to someone's house, there's beer cans everywhere, and I'm painting a wild example, but for the point, you know what I mean? There's beer cans everywhere, and there's mad history of D&V and whatever it is, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, go on, enjoy yourself. No, I'm not. Do you get me? So I want to know what's going on because obviously we've got the privilege of knowing our children, knowing their temperaments. Obviously, we're going to be biased, but we kind of know, I would imagine, like, you know, if they're a bit soft or if they're a bit rough and ready, what they can deal with and what they can't deal with. So you wouldn't necessarily want to go and put a very innocent flower around someone who's extremely streetwise. Yeah. Do you get me? And vice versa. Okay. You wouldn't want to go and throw your son out there who's a wolf. Do you know what I'm saying? To go and take down some really lambish, innocent young lady who isn't prepared. Because we know the real deal, right? Whether your son or your daughter maybe has a little bit of dark side in them. Do you know what I mean? Or where they're at. So I think it's only fair as a parent to do that due diligence and look out for everybody involved.
It reminds me of when my mum first started dating my dad.
Yeah.
And my mum was turning up at the house. My grandmother used to run her. Like, say, come, like, leave the yard.
This ain't for you.
I know my son is a wolf. You look, she said it, you look like you come from a nice home. Leave. And tacitly, my grandmother always had that level of protection. My dad's mum always had that level of protection over my mum, and therefore over her children. But that's another story. So, okay.
But let's get into the conversation. I think the real meat and potatoes.
No, I think we're in the meat and potatoes because we're telling young people, we're telling young men that this thing's bigger than just, I like that girl, I want to, whatever it is, feel good with her.
Yeah, a bit of shaky.
A bit of shaky. Yeah, but go on, what are you going to say?
No, I think the real meat and potatoes in this conversation is really exploring the different archetypes of male dating. Yeah. In a sense, you touched on it earlier on, which is you've got the that kind of roguish figure who's the kind of like eternal bachelor, the you know, the kind of coxman, to use our kind of language. Gallus. You got the gallus, right? You got the gallus.
You know what? I'm not sure with the term gallus, and I've been very...
Why?
Because it has a sense of irresponsibility. So a gallus is a man who, in my terms, got bare gal, but oftentimes he's deceiving those women. You with me? Whereas...
Nah. I'm
so?
not gonna have you mash up the term gallus, man. You keep them to yourself. You've got the gallus,
go on.
or you've got the family guy, right? Cool guy. He's a one woman man, and he's with his childhood sweetheart or whatever it is. He's found his girlfriend, and that's all he's interested in. He's not interested in chopping and changing, and you're never going to see him with a different girl at the annual footballers Christmas party or whatever. He's always going to be with Stephanie, or he's always going to be with whoever, Sarah, Keisha, whatever. Whereas, you know, that gallus figure, you're going to see him occasionally out with, not every, because let's not make it over stereotypical, but he's going to be someone who, you know, entertains different relationships. Never seems to be quite settled. He's never got kids. He's that guy.
He doesn't. If he does, he might have one.
He's a good guy. I'm not going to the stereotypical.
This is why I don't like the gallus thing. Because that doesn't kind of fit in the gallus. You pick me.
I don't know. To me, this is the stereotype. It's not usually a guy who's got kids, lots of children out there, because he's a responsible guy. He's about, like as you said, he's usually about his career, or however it is that he's making his money. He's focused on that. But he's someone who's a bit commitment shy. So he's more on a girlfriend flex for a period of time, or however long that situation works, than he is a long-term settled relationship. And usually, from the guys that I know who I'm thinking of and I'm basing that on, even if they do have a what you would say committed relationship, it always seems to maybe fizzle because maybe the partner wants a bit more commitment, or they want children, and he's kind of like, well, you know, I'm not ready for that yet, blah 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 blah. And I think there is some flexibility on that side, because you can be a gallus for a period of time, and you can say to yourself, well, you know what, my 20s and my 30s, I'm about my career. I'm happy to date, and I am looking for that connection, but I'm not necessarily looking to settle down. And as men, we do have that gift, because you can very much in your 40s say, all right, well, you know what, I'm ready to settle down, and still maybe less so for women, but you can still find a decent mate at that age, especially if you kind of managed to get your money game together, and you've got, not necessarily, but you've got your body game together in
That's
it
what
as
I
well.
was going to say as well.
Yeah, then, you know, you've kind of arguably got your pick of the bunch, because you're settled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've got that kind of confidence, knowing who you are. So it's you can go for it. So I think analysing those two and the pros and the cons of the both is where it's at.
The key to the I'm not going to use the word. I nearly went kit. Like, the key to the bachelor lifestyle is honesty.
Go for it. Yeah.
You have to always be honest with the woman you're with. Right. Make it clear that I am, in essence, like a good time guy. You with me? You're gonna be with me. We're gonna travel. We're gonna have fun. But what you're not gonna get from me is you're not gonna get a level of commitment. You're not gonna be able to tie me down. You're not gonna be able to kind of ask certain core questions like, where are you, when you could never ever get that level of commitment, because that type of man tends to have what they call is it avoidant attachment style?
Aversion.
Yeah, it's avoidant attachment. Yeah, he's not going to be like. And as men, listen, as you said, you've got the gift to do that. The key things you said, your money has to. You've usually in your 20s, and by the time you're in your 30s, mid to your money's got to be up. Yeah, you can't do that. And this is where we're going to dive. To me, a guy whose money's not up but just running big, he's a gallus. He's just got gal, but he can't actually. Can he turn around, and say, listen, babe, book 2 weeks off. We're going to book 10 days off. We're going to the Maldives and we're going first class. You with me? we go in Thailand, we go in X amount. Do you know what? Can you even afford for the woman you're with to say, listen, if you want to work, that's your business, you know, but I like your company. You don't have to work. Where that's the level of bachelor I'm talking about, where you eat at certain restaurants, you're good. And you can do that as a young man. But in the first half of the game, and this is why it's important to know what you're on early,
right?
You can't have any slips. And those slips are usually the slip of the condom, yeah?
So you're talking about kids.
If you have kids...
I think that...
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Early doors,
yeah,
and you want to be a bachelor, it is going to mess up your money. I repeat, if you decide as a young man, you're going to be irresponsible, and you're going to have children early doors, it's going to mess up your money. So the bachelor lifestyle basically goes out the window, and you become a gallus. And that's why I termed it different. Can you see the difference?
I'm not so hung up on the terms, but what I am really interested in, I think this is a really interesting topic to discuss here, is the parameters. Because I think you're seeing that through rose-tinted glasses.
What's that?
And this is where I think it's really good for young women to actually listen to this, right? Even older women, actually. Because I think that that kind of viewpoint that if you're a young guy, you can't go and get a woman pregnant or whatever it is, yeah, and then because it's going to mash up your money, so you're not going to be able to live out this player, yeah, I'll see whatever what player, gallus, womanizer.
Semantics are very important to me.
But whatever it is, that kind of like eternal bachelor, then, yeah, kind of lifestyle. I don't think that that's a reality, because I think that the fact of the matter is that a lot of men out there are willing to, and I don't back this, but I think this is a reality of the world. I think that a lot of men are willing to write off a kind of a mishap in terms of getting a young lady pregnant and having a child, and still be like, all right, well, that happened, but it is what it is, and I'm going to focus on still being who I want to be, and I'm just going to write this off as, you know, a potential error. Don't get me wrong, I still check for my child. I'm not, and I'm putting myself in that position. Still check for my child, and I'm going to contribute. But at the end of the day, I come first. So you know, that's a kind of something that's in the rear view mirror for me. As and when I can, I'll attend. I'm still going to talk, contribute where I can, right? But I'm going to focus on doing me, and I'm still going to go on, and I'm still going to have, you know, multiple girlfriends that fit me for where I'm at, but I'm just focused on my bag. Yeah. And whether I'm achieving that bag through criminality, whether I'm achieving that bag through technology, whether I'm achieving that bag through a corporate ladder or entrepreneurship or whatever it is, I'm focusing on that until I get to where I want to be. Yeah. And I see, although we are in the midst and have been in the midst for the last, I will probably say about 20, 30 years of the baby mother epidemic, yeah, that's how I'm terming it now, yeah. I still think that I see a lot of men who are more to that end. They are a little bit more cold and ruthless when it comes to detaching themselves from situations that they want, but they're not cold and ruthless to the point where they don't check for their children, or they're perpetually going out and making lots of children. There's different types.
What I see, I hear what you're saying, is if you are going to make that, if you are going to say, listen, I'm not going to be in a huge, I'm focusing on me. Yeah. I don't see the end result 10, 15, 20 years down the line where this guy has reached the peak of whatever it is that he was focusing on, and he has now developed the level of resources where, well, worst case scenario, like he can buy you a yard that he didn't 20 years ago. So a good example would be like Idris Elba, yeah? Idris Elba's got a daughter.
Idris Elba's got a couple of kids, from my understanding.
He's got a big daughter.
Yeah, I'm just throwing
he had years ago.
I'm just throwing it out there. And I don't know the fella. This is just from what I've seen on media and stuff. I believe that he's got in
his marriage he does, but he also,
I believe that he's had a few ex-wives and he's got a few children.
No. I think he's married once, twice. But he's got a big daughter. but he had to go to America. In order to make his fame and fortune, he had to do what you just said. He had to focus on himself, leave his children, quote unquote, leave him behind to focus on his career, and he blew in America. Now, let me finish.
But I feel uncomfortable speaking about particular case studies, right? Because I don't want to have. I don't want to be having this conversation with a man.
If he wants to have a conversation outside.
No, but let's move it away from a particular person.
No. Hear what I'm saying.
You want to run with it?
Let me finish. Let me finish. Yeah. And I'm not doing it to criticize. I'm saying
no, go
because you see him on the red carpet with his daughter, but he had to make that sacrifice where you may need to leave, you may need to go to a different country, you may need to explore where the opportunities are best for you to make it as a bachelor, and he made it. Kudos to him. Yeah, but I'm not really seeing where, all right, I've had a youth, it's impacted, I'm gonna have to focus on me and do what I need to do.
But I don't know if you could. All right, so again, I don't know the man's situation. I don't know if you can necessarily use an example unless you really know the ins and outs. Because that could have just been a failed relationship into a failed marriage. That's usually what it more suits that. Not suits that, but it more, I would imagine, is that kind of thing. You know what? We're going to do this. We're going to do long distance or whatever it is. Or I don't know the circumstances. They could have been together in the States and it just didn't work out. Your lifestyle.
No.
Your life, because oftentimes. Let me land. Because oftentimes, what can happen, and this is one of the reasons why I think my point. It speaks to my point earlier on in terms of knowing what you want to do. Oftentimes, the lifestyle of the club promoter, the lifestyle of the person who's involved in nightlife or the entertainment industry, or who is in sports or whatever it is and has to travel a lot, the businessman who's doing a lot of international travel, are just not compatible
for
with
family life,
with a standard
100%.
Picket fence, 2.4 children, we've got a dog and we've got a cat and we live it's not. So this now speaks to the point of really understanding, and this is what I'm saying to you. I think sometimes the player or the bachelor, I'm going to stick with bachelor, that bachelor archetype, that eternal bachelor archetype, isn't necessarily a negative thing. It's just the thing that more suits what your plan is, and that's why you need to know 100%. What your plan is. I don't think either of them are negative.
I don't want to go around in circles. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, and you're gonna sacrifice and focus on your career, what your thing is,
then you should just be open.
You should not only be open, but you have to make that work. As a man, if you're going to make that sacrifice, you can't then 20 years down the line, after you've, in essence, not given your family that you've created, your all and everything. You've said, you know what, I appreciate I've created this child, I've created a family, I'm not going to, but 20 years down the line, you ain't made it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, why is making it an issue?
Because it's all about.
Some people are going. So the reality of it is that
you can't ask a question and then answer the question.
Go.
Because it's all about sacrifice. Because if you're going to become a family man, as you know, there's certain sacrifices that are involved in that.
Yes.
And if you're going to be an eternal bachelor, there are certain sacrifices that are going to be involved in that. The sacrifice you're making is for companionship and family. I'm putting all of that stuff aside and I'm focusing on myself. That is my sacrifice. I'm not companionship. Sacrifice. It takes too much away from me. Emotionally, I can't deal with it. I'm focusing on myself. There has to be some end result. If, as a family man, you're going to sacrifice elements of yourself for the betterment of the entire family, would you agree?
Yes and no. I think what I'm hearing while you're talking and the way that I'm decoding it, is I'm saying it's more coming across that if you are a guy and you're going to be ruthlessly focused on your
goals,
your goals, you just have to be upfront and say that at the beginning of any relationship that you have. That's more what it sounds like to me in terms of the
and you better make it
the thingy that you're not necessarily whether you got to make it or not, because sometimes putting the pressure on yourself that you need to make it usually can for a lot of people end up negatively. usually it's easier to have success when you are not having that ridiculous pressure on yourself and you're just going with the flow and really enjoying experiences in life and naturally finding things. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I've got to be a super successful actor. Because guess what? You may think that that's what you want, but really you may be one of the best directors. You might be the next Ryan Coogler. But because you're forcing yourself to be an actor, you end up becoming a crap actor with a crap career. There needs to be a bit of flexibility. Yeah. But anyway, I digress slightly. Yeah, I think that from what you're saying, again, speaking to younger people, you just need to be clear on your intentions. If you're someone who wants to settle down, and that's what you see in your plan, announce it. If you're someone who's looking to more just focus on your goals, then just be about that.
I don't think we spent enough time looking at
the family man.
So I just want to put this point out there for young men.
It's typical though, right? Because the family man life is less attractive, isn't it?
Hold on, I just want to put this out there. You know, your life expectancy as a man is extended once you're married. So married men
live
longer when you are with when you're married.
Why do you think that is?
It's because you've got someone to look after you. You've got someone to look after you. You've got someone to care for you. This world's a lonely place, you know. If you're a man, the world is a lonely place. I'm getting to the age, I don't know about you, where a lot of my kind of dad's age friends, them man are dying off.
Do you think it's lonelier as a single man than it is do you think it's lonelier than a single man than a single woman?
It's bad, man. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm starting to hear these stories where you're hearing like men passing away and like being in houses
and no one didn't know they were there.
And no one don't know they were there.
Yeah.
No one's come to check up on them. There was a story of what was it? A guy. He was a associate of my well-known guy. Who was on a park bench.
Oh, allow it.
No, but when I heard this,
it
really impacted me because his name rung out. Like he was a well-known figure in the London community, particularly West London, and he was found on a park bench. Nobody knew where he was. There's a lot of men, who were being found.
Yeah.
And whether it be drug-related, non-drug related, because men isolate themselves. Your kids aren't really coming to check for you in the same way that they check for their parents. Sorry, check for their mum. You don't really have that community as such. If you're a man and you're on your own, you could be dead and no one is coming to find you. Whereas if we don't hear from mum and women, they talk and someone doesn't hear from you in a day or two.
Yeah.
It was somebody my age died in a flat.
Bro.
Like recently. That man, and I'll tell you another thing as well. I don't know about for you. You know, if your missus will see certain things like, is that shoulder still playing up, Chris? Yeah. That shoulder, I noticed you when you're putting on you need to go and see the doctor. You be like, Chris, do you know, Chris, I've booked the doctor for you. It's at 4:00. I've put in your phone, so on and so forth. That's my missus. So simple things like that if we were on our own, we'd ignore.
So let's speak to the benefits.
You go to the doctor and there's a cyst.
So we spent, like you said, we spent a lot of time on this eternal bachelor player type archetype. Let's speak to the family man.
Yeah.
What are the benefits and what are the cons what's the pros and cons of the family man?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
For me, I wish somebody would have told me what the pros are. There's no life for me better than family life.
I agree.
There is no life better than having your loved ones around you, than being in an environment that you as a man help to foster and develop. You help to foster and develop this. You're not perfect. This loving, warm environment that is your home with your children, with your wife. There is no better life. Keep the nightclub, keep the day parties, keep the festivals. Me at home with my family, my wife and my kids. I don't really see any type of better life than that. And had I have known that far earlier, I would have at an early age have committed to that.
I think it's difficult though, right? It's difficult for
why?
I think it's difficult for for me. I was privileged. I was privileged to come from a two-parent household and to have a lot of examples. Ironically, a lot of my friends also were in coming from two-parent households, so it was just something to me that just seemed really normal. And that whole kind of stability, all those things that you're talking about, the Sunday morning chats in bed, you know what I mean, the little things of, you know, looking out for your partner and noticing, these are things that almost seem just like normal to me. So hearing you talk about it with that light is interesting, right? Because you're coming from a different perspective, where to me that's just standard. It's just normality.
So
right?
sorry, so you know the I don't want to get too technical or date this, but you know the experience I spoke about the other day where I saw you, and I was speaking to my wife, and she was like, "Oh, I've never really experienced that before," and I was like, "All right, come on, let's go and have a look." And I saw you, and I saw you and your wife, to be able to share an experience with somebody else. And you two can bond over that experience, and then it becomes your experience. That's a beautiful thing. I remember teaching my wife how to ride a bike. Like, she'd never really learned how to ride a bike. And I said, all right, come on. I'm going to teach you how to ride a bike. And the confidence of her riding her bike. And she'd always say, oh, yeah, like, you taught me. That shared experience is something that can't be paid for.
I think so, but I mean, arguably,
would you agree?
Yes and no. I would.
You love a yes or no answer.
No. The reason why I'm saying that is, you know, a guy who's got a girlfriend could say the same thing. He could say, "I taught my girlfriend how to ride, and we went to this event, and we shared that together, and it was fantastic." And blah blah blah. I don't necessarily. So I do agree with that, but I think that isn't something that I would pin down to just being a benefit of being the family man. What I would
I'm really disappointed in you.
What I would more say is,
I can't believe you said that.
But it's the truth. What I would more say is that it is that life partner aspect of things, to knowing, like, so for me, one of the good things about my wife and me and my wife and I's relationship, is I think that I imagine that it's going to be like this for a lot of married couples or couples in really long-term committed relationships. But it's also really important to be a friend, as well as a partner, a lover, or what have you, right? So I think that is one of the benefits of the family man or the married. I'm gonna go deeper, man. Or the married life, as opposed to the player life, because I think when you're a player, I think you are a little bit more guarded in terms of being vulnerable and actually letting somebody in, and you have to be that way because you have to understand that to a degree, you don't want to make yourself too vulnerable, because you know that this necessarily isn't something that you're committed to the full way. Yes, you are committed. Yes, this is your partner, but you haven't put your stake in the ground and said this is a forever thing, right? So it's a little bit different. Whereas when you've got those kind of forever commitments, you know that, you know, you can really be vulnerable and share things, and even though things are not necessarily going to always be eye to eye, you know, it's almost like having the layer of a best friend, you understand, as the foundation before you even add on the glitz and the glamour and the love and all that. And it's a different kind of connection. Do you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
It's really different, especially I'm speaking as someone who's been married nearly 2 decades now. Especially when you go through things as you do through a decade or more of time, you know, the ups and downs, and, you know, whether it be losing loved ones, whether it be you know, issues with mental health, or issues with your health, or money issues, you know, being broke or losing a lot of money or gaining a lot of money, because oftentimes gaining a lot of money can just be as stressful as losing money. Do you know what I mean? Losing friendships, dealing with things, you know, there's just so much stuff that comes up in life that really is, I think, one of the key benefits of marriage or family life is having someone that you can really without any kind of filter or any kind of caveats.
Yeah.
Share that with. So that for me is one of the core benefits of the family lifestyle. What about you?
You touched on a brilliant point. I need to bounce off of the idea of having a friend, because in the kind of the modern social media, this, that, and it's very like men versus women, men versus women, men versus women. But one of the things my wife and I always talk about are the fact that we are friends first. Before anything else, we are friends first, and she always knew that I had her best interests at heart before we got married, and vice versa. And despite anything, that is what will always kind of prevail. And in a world where we're kind of more and more isolated from kind of community, from family, it's not like in EastEnders where, you know, you used to live around the corner from your aunt and your uncle and your mum and your dad and this and that. You're quite isolated. It's important that within your home and your household that you have that person who is your friend, who you can rely on, who you can be vulnerable with, and vice versa, who can be vulnerable with you, who you can depend on. And I think it gives you a sense of purpose as well, because what you then tend to find with a lot of young people as well, they don't have a purpose. They don't. I talk to, as I say, they don't really have a purpose. They don't really have a. And I'm not saying that person becomes your purpose, but that's part of your purpose.
Yes.
Your family becomes part of your purpose.
100%.
Your wife becomes part of your purpose. Your children becomes part of, and that's what drives it forward. And I think as a man, to have purpose is core. And for your family to be part of your purpose, part of your why, is a very powerful driver, an extremely powerful driver. And a lot of the time where you see a lot of young men, I'm saying young men, 20s, 30s, who you're seeing young guys of 30 who are lost. They are lost.
Okay. So are you saying then that you feel like a family is a good anchor? That a family is an anchor point for you?
Powerful anchor. Brilliant word. Powerful anchor to drive.
Keep you grounded.
Yeah,
grounded.
Because
keep focused.
Keep you not only keep grounded but pushing forward. Because as you know, life's hard, man. Life's hard. Getting up every morning, and sometimes you're not sure. But if you know you've got that person beside you who
is rooting for you, you're both in the same car together.
And you may be in the car looking out the windows because you're getting on each other's nerves, but you're still in the same car going in the same direction.
Yeah,
and
focused on the journey.
And she doesn't want the car to break down, and you don't want the car to break down. If that makes sense.
And you're both prepared to roll up your sleeves if that happens.
If it does, you'll both be pushing. You still might not be talking, but you're pushing it along the motorway. And that's the thing. I think here you should juxtaposition that against the player lifestyle, because the reality of it is, again, there's pros and cons for both. Right? I don't know why I just like the Joe. Don't want to be a player, no. As you said, it's like playing in my head as a theme tune. Let's go.
But what I was saying to you, the reason why I'm saying that to you is I think that the one of the cons of living the player lifestyle, not necessarily having those deeper bonds and connections, is that sometimes I think if your car breaks down and you're running the player or the gallus lifestyle, you kind of got to know, well, I might lose my passengers on this one. Yeah. Whoever's sitting in the passenger seat might just, you know what, give me a shout when you've got the car back up and running, because, you know, I didn't really sign up for this. I signed up for fun, clean. Yeah. Neither of us are super duper committed. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing. It's all good when you're up. But when you're down, you don't necessarily have, you may not, right? And even if you do sometimes, arguably, it's kind of unfair because you're not necessarily giving the same commitment to that person, right? And so it's you kind of got to know what the game is and what you're going for. And I think that just to summarize on this, because we've made I think really good dissections of both different archetypes and lifestyles. I don't think that you can throw either of them out. I think depending on where you want to go, do you understand, in life and what you're interested in, if you want to be a crazy entrepreneur and you want to be richer than everybody else, and you want to, you know, your life's going to see you, you know, in this place for a period of time, and you're going to need to move to where the business is, it may not be suitable for a committed family relationship. Do you know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, if you're someone who wants to have that support, and is going to benefit from having a ride or die next to you, and you that kind of camaraderie and support, and you're willing to be that support for someone else, and you're interested in legacy from an early point, then I think that marriage is for you. The only thing is, I think that this is the crux. I do think that if you're running the player lifestyle, you can adapt at a later point to say, you know what, I actually want chips. I'm gonna cash in the chips, and I want to actually jump on the thingy, which is your gift. It is your gift, right? So I want to throw that out there, but I'm gonna temper that with this. Just be aware that if that is the so, you know what? Sometimes, is in life, personal life, as well as on the big screen and stuff. You see some people and they look like really cool together, and then like years later you see them with someone else, and you think you were way better off with X or Y or Z or whatever it is, X or Y or Z. And I'm talking about people that I know personally, and then some people who are in the limelight who I don't know, but I've just watch their life and live vicariously through their lives like everyone else, watching them on the big screen, and you think just raw. And oftentimes that is one of the cons as well, as averse to the pros of that kind of player lifestyle. Sometimes you lose some of the things that would have been really, really good for you. Good food, great assets. Do you understand? And that is the correct term. Great assets, because you know what? You wanted to do the whole Fast and Furious lifestyle. Do you get me? When really probably was the right time for you to settle down, knuckle down with that gem who you had on your side. You know what I mean? And you maybe forewent that to now end up with an experience where, you're going to say that, this experience is better, but not really.
I was thinking about podcast I was listening to about Manchester United, like the reality too.
Go on.
And we spoke about legendary status. One of the things I always talk about, I love Alex Ferguson. He was a huge advocate of like, come on, lads.
Everyone has had a girlfriend, no girlfriend. You have to have a wife.
Settle down.
Get your head together.
It keeps you focused. But the podcast was
so true.
The podcast was with Ryan Giggs, and the question was asked.
Ryan Giggs is a G dog, man.
But the question was asked to Ryan Giggs.
On the pitch, anyway.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me land. He said, why do you think you didn't achieve? Because he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And said, why have you not achieved? And he kind of skirted around the question. But we knew what the answer to why he wasn't in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Whereas somebody like David Beckham, Gary Neville. If we
burns me to say Gary Neville, but he definitely is.
He's up the there. Archetype of the what you said, the steady Eddie.
The
steady Eddie. And it's if you want to achieve that legendary status, unfortunately, in the game there are certain archetypes and there are certain ways of doing it. You can go around the houses all you want. There is a very clear that's kind of structure that's been set out. And that steady Eddie, slowly but surely, knocking on the door, so on until you get there.
I think I disagree with that.
Let me finish.
Go on.
It has been set out. Secondly,
go for it.
There comes a time as a bachelor, as you said, you've got to cash in your chips.
Yes.
You cannot.
You can't stay at the casino forever.
Yeah, you don't want to be.
Definitely not.
You don't want to be the cowboy who dies falling off his horse.
100%.
Going into the sunset.
Now, that I agree with.
Yeah. There comes a time.
In every cowboy's life. where you got to hang up those spurs.
You got to hang up your spurs. And cash in your chips.
Yes, man.
And that's all I'm going to say. You do not ride until the wheels fall off. Because if you do that, what you're going to end up with you're gonna end up in problems.
I agree with that. And just to add to that, it's not that you can't achieve success in each route, but to me, in my personal opinion, and the reason why I rejected the bachelor lifestyle pretty early, what the penny drop was for me, I think it's a very lonely lifestyle. And I can remember a time where I had, in my youth, this is before I settled down with my wife, quite a few lady friends that I was chatting with. And I can't remember what it was in particular, but I had something going on. And I was like, I can't really chat to none of these girls. I can't really confide and tell no one, you know what? I feel low.
Sorry to clip you, and none of them even noticed.
I don't think whether they, I can't really speak to whether they noticed, because that's not the game that I was playing. Do you understand? But the game that I was playing in myself, I knew, you know what? I can't speak to no one right now. I really want I want to be able to go and phone one of these young ladies and say, you know what? This is how I feel. And when I experienced that, is when I said to myself, you know what? Yeah, this ain't. That's what I said. That's when I said this ain't for me. So these are. These are fun and jokes aside. I think that this conversation is valuable, because I think for every young player out there, yeah, you need to know that there's gonna be a time that comes, yeah, where you're gonna wanna not be lonely, yeah, and not in a fake sense of it, not just in terms of having a warm body next to you and a bit of fun. I mean, actually be able to share your innermost thoughts and feelings with. Now, that is something that you get to do as a family man, but in the player lifestyle, it's lonely, and it's really a kind of cutthroat,
cold world.
Yeah, cold world, dog eat dog, where you just got to accept that that's what it is. And I think, you know what? Before we wrap up, yeah, there is a bravado and there is a machismo in men, amongst men, yeah, that I think a lot of people would have heard that tidbit there. Oh, it's going to be lonely and blah blah blah, and they'll say to themselves, "Well, yeah, what man's built for this and da 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 and whatever." But the reality of it is, life ain't meant to be like that. It's not, to me. This is my opinion, This is my opinion.
Listen.
Life is not meant to be like that.
No. This isn't question time. You have to have it. Life is not meant to be like that.
No,
listen.
In my opinion.
No, why? Listen. I'm going to walk off of this podcast.
Go for it.
Life is not meant to be like that.
No.
Yeah. If you look at the religions of the world,
for the majority,
if you look at history of man, it's not meant to be like that.
For the majority of us, it's not meant to be like that. And the truth of it is that in order to create a wholesome, successful community base, yeah, where it's about the many and not the few, that can't be the way that we're living, because it's not healthy. You know what I mean? It's not healthy at all. And anyway, that's me. That's me signing out on that one. That's my viewpoint. And I hope that as this conversation is archived, that is something that women find useful in terms of getting a glimpse, especially young women, getting a glimpse into the different kind of archetypes and the different ways that guys think and the ways that guys can move. And that younger men as well just absorb a little bit of this and just really think about, intentionally as we started off with, you know, really what does work for me, and am I aware that this path is a lonely one? Am I aware of this path? And although I might be sacrificing some of the bravado and machismo and the kind of, I'm gonna actually gain so much from this. So yeah, throw it out there.
Another episode of Rum and Reasoning. Make sure you check us out on the socials. And we're going to make sure we've got all the socials posted: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Please share, because I see a lot of people like, oh, yeah. When I'm posting the reels, everyone's like, oh, yeah, but I'm not seeing you like, share, and comment. So make sure you do all that.
Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
We'll see you next time.
Rum and Reasoning.